So welcome everybody to today's webinar. We are going to be looking at tips to help you revise and prepare for your exams to ensure that you get the very best results. And you never know, next year you could be a NALP Paralegal Achievement Award winner as well. Joining me on this webinar is Stephen Murray. He is a tutor and the NALP Qualifications Manager at the Law Training Centre. And he's very kindly agreed to join us as one of NALP centres to answer some of our questions about the best ways to prepare. Also on this webinar, we've got Nigel. He's handling the tech side of things. So if you have any questions or anything like that, then do ask, you can message Nigel or whatever, that's absolutely fine. He'll be in the background helping out. And also our patron, Amanda Hamilton, is also in the background there in case she is needed. My name is Chantal Cook and I'm the CEO of NALP, and I'll be hosting the webinar and firing those questions at Stephen. Just one quick thing to remind you is we are very open to your questions, so please do ask them. The way to do that is to pop them in the chat. We're not using the Q&A function and we won't be asking them kind of verbally. So just if you've got a burning question, pop it in the chat and then we'll come to it towards the end. Sometimes obviously those questions automatically get answered as we go through, but if not, then I said we will come to them and I'll be asking Stephen or whoever's appropriate to answer those questions should you have them. So let's get started. Stephen, I need to, I suppose the real question is, when should I start preparing? Because I'm guessing you're going to tell me I shouldn't start preparing for my exam the day before.
No, that wouldn't be terribly beneficial. I suppose the obvious answer is from the beginning, but I think it's important to stress when the beginning truly is. I would suggest that everyone needs to begin in their own way. You start the way that you want to progress, the way that you feel you're going to benefit, and this allows you to take control. Taking control of your learning and your progress will make you feel comfortable, it will make you feel assured, and it will make you feel very confident. Confident is that's something that's very important, and it's something I'll touch on probably later. But you're right, it's never too early to start. But I would say that your preparation for your exams starts actually before picking up books. This is the initial contact that you make with NALP as the regulator, and also with your learning and training supervisor, coach, and tutor team. Reach out, get that contact, and get to know the people that you're going to be working with. They're there to help you, and that's something to really bear in mind. They're there to support you. They're not the enemy. Okay, so work with them. It's also good to perhaps take a moment and consider in your firm, your organization, or even within your circle, is there anything that someone who's done the same qualification can offer to you in terms of advice or even just experience? Other people have walked the same pathway as you have, and they have their own experiences that you might want to listen to or reflect on. But understanding your own journey is personal is very, very important. So that's probably where I would now begin from. From the start, I would suggest that you plan and you understand how your focus is going to be on your course content and your study plan. Understanding how to use your course content, remembering that the NALP materials are extremely robust. This will allow you to progress and have measurable achievement. Being effective in your study and your study plan means that you'll become adaptable and realistic about your progress. Keep actively engaged with your study. Try to keep to a formulated study plan. Study plans can and do work. Talk about that shortly, probably. Work with your tutor. Work with your learning coach. Sometimes we can feel very overwhelmed with the amount of information that we're faced with, and we do have a lot to get through for our exams. But this can be broken up into manageable chunks, and it can be mastered. There are ways in which we approach those materials, and that will probably be a question that I'll address shortly. But taking control of your learning materials, taking control of your pathway is pretty much what I would say 50% of the whole progress. Keep actively engaged with your tutor team and your learning coach if you are appointed one, and try to keep that regular contact, that's the term I would use, with your learning materials. If you feel things are going wrong, and I'm using a small w, they actually might not be. It can just be a confidence issue, and it can be feeling swamped, or it could be learning fatigue. And that's where we have to sometimes go back, look at our study plan, and perhaps just reconfigure what it is we're trying to do, thinking about what it is I'm trying to achieve, because we're sometimes very hungry at the beginning and we want to race through and capture all of this information. But maybe we just need to, whoa, just back off a little, take time, because we never forget we're going to be balancing a very, very busy life. We have family commitments. We also have a real life to enjoy and engage with. And we also have a professional course of study that will take and make demands on us. So I would suggest, therefore, yeah, early is good.
And now you mentioned a study plan and kind of
Mm,
you use the words, how you approach the workbook. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Because that's presumably now you're started.
yeah.
This is the ongoing process, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. A study plan can be mapped, but it must be flexible. We have to be realistic. And in many of the conversations that I have with candidates, is to ask them quite serious questions about, you can tell me what commitments you have, if you wish, but only you can truly identify the realistic time that you have each day, week, month to contribute to your progress. And I'm using the term progress a lot. And the reason for that is because even if you tell me, Stephen, I've only got an hour and a half every day or an hour and a half every 2 days, those are steps towards completion. It's about distance travelled. Yes, finishing the exam and passing, wonderful, congratulations. Of course it's important, but never overlook the small steps that we take every day or every week towards that success. So it's about, again, working with your tutor, your coach. Think about the time you have available. Look at the learning outcomes that you have to cover. There's a lot in there. Let's not pretend there isn't, because there is, okay? Break that up. It can be broken up and it can be spread across a diary of the weeks and months that you have available until you choose to take your exam or the point of examination in that diet. When you break that up into achievable parts, then success will come. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
I think that's a very good tip, is to diary things, because there's all sorts
Yes.
of things that we intend to do that we don't
Yes,
quite get round to. And let's face it, there's
absolutely.
always something else that seems very important other than studying, because that's just life. So I
Of
think, yeah, the
course.
diary tip does
Yeah.
make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Diarising what it is you want to achieve every day is very good. It's an objective, it provides focus, and it provides pace. But I can't stress enough, it has to be realistic. It has to be flexible, because many times I'm contacted during the week. I've not managed my 3 hours this week. Oh no, it's all going to go wrong. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. You can catch up. You've not lost anything. You haven't. What you have done is recognised what your next steps have to be. That's 3/4 of the battle for any tutor working with their candidate. You need to see what your next steps generally need to be to get to where you want to. And I can help you get there, or, of course, your own coach or tutor.
So when it comes to things like the note taking and
Mm,
so on, because obviously, yes, there's a lot of reading and stuff like that, and you're talking to a
yeah,
tutor, but you do
yeah.
need your own notes. So what tips would you have for note taking and then ensuring that you retain that information?
Okay, there's lots and lots out there online that you can read about this. There are many, many techniques, many theories, but I go back to my original point that everyone is an individual and you have to do what works for you. Okay, you may have been in education at particular levels previously before undertaking your NALP qualification and your NALP pathway, and it might have worked then. But we may have been a single student enjoying life in our late teens, and that's not where we are now. For me, I knew that as a mature student, when I went on to do my professional qualifications, I needed a repeating learning loop. And that's something that I try to encourage candidates to do when I'm working with them for NALP. A repeating learning loop is something that you do regularly in the same fashion as best as you can if it's working for you. And that, I suggest, is study, capture, test, tidy. That can be broken down, okay? Study, again, everybody studies in their own way. But the theory is, and I have the experience to know that this does work, small bursts, 20 to 40 minutes, that's spread with breaks over a number of sessions for your 1 night a week, 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, whatever it is that you can manage. That allows you to absorb information better than sitting with your head in your book, trying to push through an hour and a half or 2 hours of reading. Some people can do that. I couldn't when I was a student. I just lost the will to live. I think that that short burst technique does work. So that's the study. When we use the term capture, what does that mean? Capture means realizing what you have taken from that reading, okay? That can be done in a number of ways. One way which I believe it can work is for you to summarize using your own words. We don't copy directly out the manual. Again, I'll talk about that a bit later, because I don't think that that's purposeful. Summarize in your own words into it could be half a page, it could be a paragraph, or it could be 1 page on a particular learning outcome. It could be something that allows us to embed, because that's what we want to do. I don't like using the term memorize, because exams are not a memory test, okay? It's about the application of understanding, right? So that's what we're trying to do by creating these short outlines of what it is you have been studying. When we come to test, that doesn't mean answering formal questions at the beginning. That can be something when we're continuing to use, as a suggestion, that technique later in our study, getting closer to exams. Test can be, can I close my book, turn off my screen, and in my own words, in simple terms, recall what it was I was reading there about obligations, principles, theory, the test for, that sort of thing. Again, little chunks, little bits. Make it absorbed. That's what you want to do. You want to take it in. Some people can memorize screeds and screeds and screeds of text. That's great. Good luck to them. But I would suggest that in the main, most candidates can't do that. The last thing I mentioned in the study, capture, test was tidy. Tidying is administrative. What that means is bringing your notes together that you've created, tidying them up again, and perhaps creating that file on your laptop or your PC or in your a notebook, that sort of thing. It's very important to retain that. I'm a strong believer that that then becomes something else. It becomes part of a realizable and effective study package. That's yours, created by you. Personalizing your learning can go a whole way. So that's what I would suggest we do when we're trying to embed the information and the study that we undertake.
Are there different techniques though you should use depending on the different types of students? I know some people like to, hear, like I particularly like to hear things, for example, but my
Yep.
partner, he loves to see things. So
Yep.
does that make a difference?
Yes, it does. And for 2 seconds, we talk about education science and learning. We have people who like to do, and those are the experiential learners. Yes. And we have your traditional learner who just likes to read and just need to get my focus on this manual and I want to absorb and eat all of these words. Everyone is different. Sometimes you do a mix and match. But the thing that you need to do is find out what's working for you. Okay. And much of that can come about when you're dealing closely, or working closely, should I say, with your tutor. Okay. When you are creating the material, you will start to learn what is working better for you. Now, there's lots and lots of theory again around what makes a good learning pattern or a good learning technique and how it sinks in. But let's think about it this way. If I'm reading and it's not sinking in, then perhaps we need to be reading and then doing more application through set tasks. Okay. If the tasks and exercising that we're setting ourselves or being set by a tutor isn't working, that could be a knowledge gap. All of this revolves around one thing, and that is communication with your coach or tutor or learning supervisor. Study, capture, test, tidy. It's just an example, but it can work because you have a pattern to follow. I can't stress enough how important it is to work with your learning coach or your tutor team. People like me are there with the experience to drill down into by listening to you what you think's not working. I'm doing all this reading, Stephen, but it's not staying in. Okay, are you exercising that? What do you mean? Are you trying to do that recall exercise? Are you trying to do that test exercise? As you move forward and closer to your exams, when you're absorbing all of this information, Stephen, I'm just not getting it. Okay, what is it that you're not getting? Is it just the simple regurgitation part that we don't necessarily want? Is it the awareness? Is it the understanding of the context of how the law works in action? Then we have to go back to the testing element. Many learners don't want to hear the word test, and we understand that. We don't want to say, please test me because it's something I really enjoy and it lowers my stress levels. We know it doesn't. But testing means reaffirmation. Okay, we want to learn that we're learning. It's a long progress, but we understand where things don't seem to be going wrong. We get the feeling. Express that. Tell someone, ask for help. Your tutor will help you. They're there to help you. So it's not about learning in the wrong way. It's nothing you're doing that's wrong. Please understand that. It's about getting guidance to learn purposefully. Do it with purpose. That's how you can tell which kind of learner you are. We can try different things, put different things together, be open to suggestion. Try not to have a closed approach. This is how I did it at uni and it really worked for me and it's not working now. Yeah, because you weren't doing a 10-hour day with work and commuting and family and looking after elderly relatives or children or trying to live a life on top of everything else. Life was different then. This is how we can make it work now.
I think that recognition that what used to work before doesn't necessarily work now is really important, isn't it? Because it's very easy
Yeah,
to go, no, I know what I'm doing. I did it.
yeah,
As you say,
yeah.
it's things are different. So that's a very good reminder, which actually kind of brings me to my next question, because my memories of cramming for exams were kind of, well, literally that, cramming for exams. It would be, a few days
Yeah.
beforehand.
Oh,
I would be reading it again and again and again, and I'd be stuck in my room, probably, eating my body weight in chocolate, if I remember rightly, and and just cramming all this information in. I'm guessing you're going to say to me that's not the best approach. And so, what would have been better, and probably not the chocolate as well, I'm guessing.
I would I would need to be perfectly and professionally honest and say it worked for you. So if it worked for you, that's good. It worked for you, but I wouldn't have liked to have taken your blood pressure at the time. In general, I don't think that's the best way forward. Some people can cram, some people do it. I knew people when I was doing my qualifications, they would just sit up all night almost eating dissolvable coffee, trying to stay awake to swallow all this information. I personally don't think that one, it's effective. Two, makes you a composed, effective professional. Because that's not what we do in real life when we're at work, is it? That's not the way. Me personally, I did do the repeat embed technique. I even took it to the extreme where I used to walk about with all my study materials and I would almost not want to let them go because I felt there was some sort of absorbing into me. It really was. I had to get into that zone. So cramming, no, that's not the way that I prepared. It's not how I would suggest that learners try to get that last 15 yards towards the finishing line. I don't think that's right. We started at the beginning of our conversation today about talking about when to start. And starting is at the beginning, and everyone's beginning's at a different point. But I would say it's the moment that you congratulate yourself on taking this pathway. It's a big undertaking. So good for you. And you should have belief in yourself. And you should congratulate a little bit of backpacking there. Yeah, definitely. Congratulate yourself on doing it. Every week, as I've said, distance travelled is a preparation week. Every step towards progress and finishing is a success. We need to go back to what I mentioned earlier. I suggest about diarising. When to take assignments and exams, we can be working towards a 3 to 4 week approach on the final stretch. This is where we use everything, touching on everything that we've discussed in the few moments that we've had together, to capture our understanding of the subject we are focused on. We can be using our final timed exercises, again working with your tutor or your learning coach, using and creating appropriate materials to best exercise how you like to use your materials and your learning content. The NALP materials are absolutely robust. They can be your sole focus. They are not going to let you down. But facing the challenge of now realizing those final 3 to 4 weeks that it's now time to use our understanding and knowledge, that in itself can be a challenge. But I would say this to you. Across all of the weeks that you have been working so hard, using your own techniques and your study plans, you now have a toolkit. You have a box of tools at your side. And what we then begin to do is understand which tool we take out the box to apply to the problem in front of us. And working with your tutor, you can master that. So on the day of the exam, I always say, and I know it's used in sports, fight a hard opponent and you fight easy in the ring. And that's what I would suggest you do. Try to train as hard as you can, reasonably, not overwhelming yourself, as we've mentioned, but train as hard as you can with your materials and your learning up until that final 3 to 4 weeks, when you can then perhaps take your foot off the gas a little and then start to focus not on learning, but applying. So you move from taking on the information, absorbing, becoming aware, to the application and use. Application and use is where a pass resides. That's where passes live. Use and application. Theory is an introduction. Bang, this is what it means. This is how it applies. And this is the outcome. Like being in work, we are outcome focused. Those last 3 to 4 weeks are where we focus on outcomes. This will be the solution for this character in their circumstances, not generalizations. We don't do generalizations. That's part of study. Outcome focus, that's where I think success is.
Following that sports analogy, it kind of made me think about, let's say, for example, marathon runners. On the day before the marathon, they're not running another marathon to train. They're
No.
actually probably, they're treating themselves nicely. They're probably not, downing a bottle of gin and a box of chocolates, but,
No.
they are having a rest. They're eating healthily. They're making sure that they're prepared for the next day by sleeping and things like that. I guess that same kind of approach is what you should be doing with your exam as well, is not desperately trying to cram the last of it in, and again,
Yep.
not drinking coffee so that you can't sleep and stuff like that. It's like,
No.
look after yourself.
No, I think it can be quite trite to say, oh, get good night's sleep and do this, do that. We forget that we may be working right up until the day. No, oh, I've got my exam tomorrow morning and Friday. Oh, what is it? I've got 3 meetings this afternoon. That's reality. That's the reality that we have to work with. You mentioned marathons. My good friend has just done the Berlin Marathon, and on the day before the race, he actually just went and stood at the finishing line. He was visualizing finishing. Interesting. I think there's an analogy there we can use with our learning. The day before, very, very light work, light reviews. You might want to look back at that personal learning pack that you've put together using the techniques that I alluded to earlier in the conversation. All of those notes that you've got organized. There may be areas that you think, oh, I hate obligations. I'll go and have a look at that. That's fine. That's okay. That's normal. It's okay to feel a bit stressed. It's okay to understand, oh, I'm going to be so challenged tomorrow. It can be a point also to have another conversation with your tutor, even just to talk. I think it can be grossly underestimated how good it is just to speak to someone. And it doesn't have to be about technical law. You don't have to speak law. Just talk about how you're feeling and just get that feedback and get that support. Lots and lots of people have walked your walk, and you'll be the one that walks through that tape at the end of the race, just like they did. So it's about looking back on what you've built, very light reading, and I would suggest that having some form of deep exercise, not some sort of learning exercise and multiple choice questions the day before the exam, I would personally suggest is not the best way forward. Because one thing that can come from that is a confidence knock. Because you may take a question and you just go blank. We've all been there, and you're looking at it. I've never read anything about this in my life. And of course you have. But you blank. And that's learning fatigue. It's that fugue that we can get into when we think, I don't know anything, and your mind is scrambling. So keep it light and keep it easy. You've trained really hard for this race, and you'll make it.
Lovely. Thank you so much. There's lots of really fantastic tips in there. Just to let everybody know, these webinars are made available on the website in the members section. So if you remember, you can then log in. Usually takes us about a week to get them onto the website because obviously they get edited up and so on. But if you've been listening to this and go, oh my God, there's so much great content in here, I need to remind myself, then the webinar will be on the website available for you to listen to again. Got a quick question, and actually I can kind of half answer this and ask you partly as well. So Rosie says, I'm a distance learner, no university or lectures as such. Should I still get in touch with the tutor coach? So I'll let you answer that in relation to the Law Training Centre, Stephen, in a second. But in relation to our other centres, as I'm not sure which centre you're studying with, Rosie, then absolutely yes. All of them offer that for you, and you should definitely get in touch with them. But maybe, Stephen, you can talk a little bit more about it from a Law Training Centre point of view.
Absolutely, 100% yes. Anytime, all the time. Make it regular. Have a conversation. It's terribly, terribly important. It can feel lonely. You can feel isolated. Feeling on your own can be a barrier to achievement, but you're not. I know it's difficult when we've came from a traditional, don't like using that word, learning experience such as schools, colleges and universities. Learning online, you do have a community. They are out there. We have forums, and forums can be used to communicate with your fellow learners on the same qualification as you are on. And you can just chat and you can ask questions, but always, always go back to your tutor. If you don't have a nominated coach, you will have a tutor team. You will have a student support group. There will be colleagues in those learning providers who are there to offer admin support. Technical support, as in terms of the law, please always go back to your subject specialist. Lots of us like to kick about ideas and say, oh, I couldn't get that. Oh yeah, what that means is, that's really good, but please go back to the subject specialist. Please do reach out and start from the moment you get your enrolment message. Hi, my name is, got some concerns. I'm really worried about learning on my own. I've got such a hectic work schedule and I've got so many commitments. Help. Or, hi, thanks for reaching out to me. I'm really looking forward to starting. I'll be in touch. But please do keep in touch. I can't stress it enough.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, I think that's draws us to the close now. I don't see any other questions. I think it may be you've absolutely covered everything. And there's certainly loads of stuff in there I kind of wish I'd known years ago when I was studying. So thank you so much for that. I really hope that's been helpful to everybody. As I said, the webinar will be available to listen to again if you want to pull out any bits that you maybe don't remember. I really, really cannot stress enough how important it is to take this kind of stuff on board. It's like Stephen's been doing this for, I'm not even going to say how long, but he knows what he's talking about. Hundreds of our students go through the Law Training Centre as one of our approved centres, so they really do know what they're talking about. So do listen to what he's got to say, do apply it to your own learning, and then we look forward to hopefully one of the people joining us on this webinar today to being one of NALP's Paralegal Achievement Award winners of 2026. That would be fantastic. So again, thank you very, very much. That's Stephen Murray, tutor and NALP Qualifications Manager Manager at the Law Training Centre. Thank you all for joining us as well on this webinar. Tips to help you revise and prepare for your NALP exams and ensure you get the very best results. So we wish you all the very best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar in November. Thanks ever so much.